Look at you. We are speaking with the one and only David Readman. Do we say Readman or Redman?
Readman.
See, I knew I got it right. From Pink Cream 69, a band who has been around since 1987, I believe, out of Germany. North America, we know you just a little bit less, but absolute pleasure to talk to you. I love my European bands. I love them all.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure to be on your show today. I knew it was 6 o'clock. Well, 6 o'clock here, of course.
Yes.
And I've rushed, just rushed home to make sure I'm in time. I'm terrible with interviews, but we made it, and it feels great to be on your show tonight.
Yeah, so let's quickly talk
Today.
about the recent announcement that Pink Cream 69 is working on a new album for 2022. Talk to me about the progress of that, and what do you want to say, sort of sonically at this point? Do you sort of look back to the classic sound of the band and say, let's make another one like that, or do you say, we've been doing this for 30 years, we can do whatever we want at this point?
That's a good question, man. Let's go to the record. I mean, of course, like you said, we could do whatever we wanted, and we have done that from time to time in the past. I think with Ceremonial, we did sort of go that sort of direction,
Mm-hmm.
and I still believe it to be a great record. But the fact is, the record after that, Headstrong, our last record, where we decided. We made a conscious decision that we're not necessarily going back to the roots, but there should be a more focus record, a more Pink Cream 69 record. So that's where we're gonna follow the last record. I think it was a really good solid record, and I think that's where we're gonna go. So that means when it comes down to, like, your other part of the question, when it comes to songwriting, we make like a sort of A B C D E F G list kind of thing. A being the song that will probably make the record, and we all write. Myself, Alfred Koffler. We got obviously our new guitar player Marco. He's brought some new songs into the band, and so we'd end up sort of like 25, 30, sometimes more songs, but they're not all going to make the record. And obviously, if we're looking for a certain style, like I said, with Ceremonial, we sort of did whatever we wanted to do. We might have a different styles on a record, but I think in the past we've experimented before with the album Change. When I first joined the band, I'm still the new singer. I don't feel that new anymore, but
I know.
sometimes I feel quite new. But
Isn't it funny though?
uh,
After all these years, you're still the new guy. I was talking to James Kotak of the Scorpions once, and he was like, "I've been in the band 14 years, but I'm still the new guy." You're sort of
yeah,
perennially
yeah,
the new guy.
it's good and bad. You're always going to be compared to, of course, whoever, and obviously Mr. Darius, and which is not a bad thing. If he wouldn't have left the band, I wouldn't have got the chance. At the end of the day, so it's all good. But yeah, coming back, so we've changed. We'd experimented. We'd obviously gone a different sort of way. But of course, at the time I joined the band, I didn't really know the history of the band fully. And with Electrify, we returned probably a bit more to the original sound of Pink Cream 69. So that's where we're going, basically. The demos are going really well. I think we're more or less at this point in the game decided on the songs, and the next part of this year will be recording, which goes quite fast. Once obviously the songs are there, it's really just, for me personally, lyric writing and just pre-production, really getting ready to finish the rest of the track.
So let me ask you two questions here. First of all, you do have new members that came in 2020. Is
Yeah.
that seen as a positive? Like, wow, they bring in a fresh breath of air, or is it like, oh, okay, now we got to rebuild the brand again and we got to try again? I've always thought that new members breathe fresh air into a band. Sort of, how do you see it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, Mr. Ward left the band, which was a big, big blow, a big, big blow. I mean, he'd been sort of playing with the idea for a long time, off and
Right.
on. We've all, after, I mean, I've been in the band 20 years. We've all had situations where we are a bit unsure. Do I really want to do this every time? We obviously we try to make really good records, and And you know, we've had a certain amount of success, but there's a sort of bottleneck in a way of how far you're going to get, you know, with the sort of thing you're doing, a certain style, and that gets a bit frustrating sometimes. So I think in a way, we all think about, you know, what we're going to do. Do we continue? Obviously, Dennis decided finally it was time for him. He's a busy guy. He's recording a lot. You know, he's doing a lot of mastering and production. And I think he joined a British band actually before the Corona. Actually, Magnum. I think he became a member
band.
of them.
It's funny because
Yeah.
you know, Troy Luccketta of Tesla literally posted on Facebook that he's stepping down from the band, and I think the pandemic with people staying at home just sort of went, yeah, I kind of like just being home, and it sort of changes you, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I'm sort of like, you know, luckily I've had like 4 or 5 gigs recently in Germany. I live in the Netherlands. I'm originally from the UK. So, of course, I've been drifting around the last few years, which is good. It's been an adventure. But I finally actually was out on the weekend, another gig. And in a way, you're really happy to be out there. And, you know, you just like the whole getting out there and playing live, and it has been really exciting, and it's really sort of freshened up the whole thing, that you know, things that you took for granted for many years, actually playing live and meeting up with musicians and not being afraid of, you know, maybe, you know, catching the disease.
Yeah.
And you know, that sort of calmed down a little bit. But on the other side, you do think, you know, I've kind of got used to being at home a lot, and you know, the normal kind of life, because I was busy. I mean, I was traveling a lot. I had obviously many different projects, many different bands, and I prefer it that way. But you know, I'm sort of back and forth. But at the end of the day, being out there is definitely my kind of thing. And at the end of the day, Dennis decided that, you know, he needed more time for other things, and you know, he left the band, and we then took on Roman, who'd been a long time friend of personal friend of mine and a roadie of Pink Cream 69. And he then did a couple of shows with us, Pink Cream 69 in Spain and in the UK, which was really good. Russia too. And that was basically before it all sort of, you know, broke down. We then lost, unfortunately, Uwe Reitenauer. He'd been in the band for about 10, 15 years. We had a great time with him. And the same kind of thing, you know, wanted to move on, do something else. And I kind of person who just thinks, well, you know, it's a damn shame, but you know, if I'm in that situation where I've had enough and I want to move on, I want to be able to do that. And I understand it. And you know, sometimes having a breath of fresh air, doing something else could mean that, you know, in a couple of years, people might want to return at some point if there's a chance, you know. So who knows?
Why not? And I have to say, you know, I haven't seen a show since March of 2020, and I kind of like not having traffic and fighting. You know, I kind of like just sitting with the dogs anyway. But let me get back to the let me get back to the 2022 album. Has it been given a name yet?
No, we're not far down the line. We're sort of like a band who were always a bit last minute, you could say, when it came to artwork and names and all that kind of stuff. Some bands probably have this massive concept. This is the title. This is the title of the songs. The songs have probably not even been written. It's going to be about this or whatever. We've never really done that. You know, sometimes it's different. Sometimes we might have had a title. You know, quite often with us, it's kind of like you know, you'd sort of have a song that fits, that's got a great title, and that would then become the title of the record, possibly. That was with Electrified and Change. Headstrong was quite honestly, something completely different, I guess. I think I came up with that title. And no, there's no.
By the way, it was a great album. I thought that was a fantastic album, Headstrong.
Yeah, you know, it was really just for us really important. We were all really energized on that record. There was a lot of energy, a lot of real big input into that record. I wrote songs, Koffel. Dennis was really strong on Walls Come Down. That was one of his songs, which is really a real return for Pink Cream 69. And he obviously produced it. He spent a long time refining the sound. We quite often record everything with like a drum machine. We do the drums at the end, and he would quite often play the bass at the end before he would actually mix the record. And just have to say that when I first listened to the final mixes, I was like, wow, man, the bass ties so in with the drums. It's like he really spent time, you know, locking in the bass on this record, and he did an absolutely amazing job on that record. Still really happy about that record after, imagine, such a long time being Pink Cream 69 and still to return with a record like that. So
Well,
all
let me
good
ask
stuff.
you a couple of questions about your productivity. A lot of the sort of classic bands from the 80s and 70s, they don't make albums anymore. They've given up. Other bands like Thunder and FM, they keep going. You keep going, but you do it sort of every 4 years, every 5 years, between
Yeah.
in intensity and ceremonial, it was 6 years. Are you sort of straddling that line between, well, we're a classic band and the fans want to hear the classic hits, and well, we still have to be creative, and so therefore, there's no rush. It'll be when it'll be.
I think we always wanted to release every year, you know,
Right.
or every 2 years, you know, like basically, you know, go on tour for a year, play all the festivals, do the usual thing. That was something that we always wanted to do, but it just never went that way. I mean, everybody else in the beginning it was probably possible because we were a lot more devoted and real, you know, more 100% for the band. But as time went on and people have to survive and do
Right.
other things, obviously Dennis was producing a lot, and Costa got more involved with managing Gothard and Halloween and stuff like that, which he
Gothard
still
is one
does
of the
to.
greatest bands to ever exist. I'll just put that out there.
Okay.
Nick
Yeah,
Mader
yeah,
and Leo Leone are just a fucking magical. That's all. I'm just gonna put that out
yeah.
there.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I met these guys back in the day, of course, when you know they were sort of a bit more of a rock and roll band, you could say.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, things a bit more commercialized these days, you could say. But um, yeah, so you know, obviously, people were busy. I was doing other things. I've always enjoyed doing other things, and not only because of fun and being a singer, but also financial reasons,
Yeah.
being involved in other things. Many situations, many projects. You know, hopefully brings in from different areas. As a musician, I've always been sort of scratching together. You know,
Yeah.
scratching to some kind of living. You
Yeah.
know,
You know,
to
I
be.
think I was gonna say I think sometimes fans forget that there's an economic reality. You go, well, I want an album every year. It's like, yeah, but it costs money, and we got to make money. You know, it's not that
Yeah,
easy all the time. Yeah.
yeah, and obviously the creativity and to have all the great songs to make a great record every time, you know, and
Yeah.
obviously what's slowed us down obviously this time is, and I don't remember now. I mean, is it like it's probably about 3 or 4 years since the last record, but it doesn't seem that way, obviously,
Five
because it's been
years,
like,
2017.
oh my god. Yeah, it just seems like yesterday, you know, it's still fresh. It just seems like last week that I was in Dennis's studio recording vocals. You know, it's incredible how fast it's gone. But for me personally, to release a record, obviously it's going to be next year. Hopefully things are going to be a little bit better. It's a very slow
Yeah.
process, obviously, what we're going through at the moment. But to me, to release a record at this moment is it's doable. But I just find it a bit of a waste because you drop a record, people like it. It's maybe even gets in the charts. People are really excited, but you cannot tour it.
Yeah.
You can't really promote it. So it's kind of gets lost, you
Well,
know.
well,
And maybe,
and that goes back to Gothard. They released an album in February of 2020, and
yeah,
to this day, they have not played one show in support of it.
yeah, it's just what it is. You know, I think the beginning of last year, I think towards the end of last year, I was obviously I'm singing with Voodoo Circle as well. I
Yeah.
returned to Voodoo Circle.
Yeah.
We released a great record,
Yeah.
great feedback. A friend of mine recently was listening to it in the car on the way to somewhere and said, "Wow, what a record!" And I was thinking, I better listen to that record again. I can't really remember. I can't remember what we did, but it's one of those things. It was greatly received. It was in some kind of charts. It was in Amazon. Blah blah blah. People loved it. You
Yeah.
know,
Locked
Readman
and
back and
loaded.
all that. Yeah, you know, we made videos. It was just, well, sort of like everybody somewhere else videos and lockdown videos, and we did the whole bit. But at the end of the day, you know, we couldn't promote it. You know, obviously next year's obviously a fresh chance. Alex has already contacted me about new songs. So it's kind of like, oh my God, it's kind of like no problem. But what about the last record? And let's hope that obviously next year when the new record comes out from Pink Cream 69, that we're in a slightly different position. But yeah, let's see about that.
Well, I would think, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but touring for a band like Pink Cream 69 is a lot more important than putting out a record. I mean, if you can't go tour these songs,
Yeah,
then there's just no
yeah.
point.
It's I think, for honesty, like obviously there was a time when you made a record and people would want to come and, listen to the record, but play live, and it's still there. But it's the end of the day, we've been around such a long time, and I really appreciate that, of course. I mean, obviously starting something new now is very difficult. And if we play live, it's really just a hits kind of situation. Obviously you've got so many records, we obviously playing the important songs, the hits. Obviously you'd play like Walls Come Down, from the last record, and maybe 2 or 3 songs, and that's it. That's what it is. So we could still play next week and we haven't released a new record. It's really no problem. And,
Right.
and
Of
we
course.
would have played obviously if there was a festival booked actually for this year. But in a way, that's the market for us. I think number one, and that's opened up a little bit. But the festival, the guy who organized the festival, was not ready to take the risk, so basically he cancelled it, unfortunately. So that was that, really. And that's probably
that was Vakin, I guess, or
no, that would have been
that'd be the real one. But let me ask you
yeah.
this: in terms of market, because you've been around since the mid '80s, you joined in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
The band, the songs are there. You've got radio friendly hits. You've got rockers. You've got it all. But you don't have the North American market. Where did it go wrong for the band in terms of being a household name in Canada and the United States? And I don't mean to be negative, but was it bad management? Was it just wrong time? Grunge had sort of thrown out the rock. Why don't more people know Pink Cream 69 in Montreal, Toronto, Los Angeles?
Difficult to say, really difficult to say. We did actually, on the Electrified record, we did finally have an American record company. There was a guy, can't remember his name now, really. He did re-release Shame as a single at that time. It would have been sort of 98, something like that. And he really did push it. And we did, there was a certain level of movement. And the funny thing is, people say to me, we played obviously the Monsters of Rock cruise, obviously from Miami to wherever, Caribbean, and which was absolutely fantastic. But it was sort of like, you're on this boat, there's a lot of American people, there's people from everywhere, but obviously a lot of people from the States who would say to me, hey man, why doesn't Pink Cream sit down play in the States? And it's kind of like, it just, we're ready, but it's obviously, you need obviously to somebody to bring you over. We did play Prog Power in Atlanta, I think, one time, which was just really fantastic. I returned with Voodoo Circle a few years after, which was just killer, but for me personally, obviously we've left Miami, we're not in the States anymore, but to me personally, we were playing stateside, but obviously to somebody from America, it's kind of like, yeah, we're not in America anymore, but for me, it was kind of like, this is about as close as it's going to get for Pink Cream 69. We did actually play on the first cruise. We were at the Magic Casino on the first night before you get on the boat. So obviously that was in Miami itself. So that was really as close as Pink Cream 69 will get. And that was like 2,000 people. So it was really successful and a really great night. But I just think that maybe we just missed the boat, we just missed the chance somehow, and it was always a musician's dream or a band's dream to hit the States, of course, but it is difficult. It's just so far away, and there are financial costs involved,
Yeah. Well, listen, I was talking to Brian Tatler of Diamond Head, and he came over and did a tour a few years ago. It was crazy. It was like 28 shows in 30 days. And I went, what are you doing? He says, you don't understand. It's $30,000 before we even have our feet on the ground, because we've paid for flights, we've paid for and not tax things, but permits or whatever you want to call it.
Work
And it's like,
permits, yeah.
yeah, and it's just like we're $30,000 in the hole, so we have to play every night to make it up. And I'm just like, Jesus, you
Yeah.
poor vocalist. I mean, holy Christ, poor guy.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, 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 yeah.
um,
It's doable. It's doable. It's doable.
it's
But
doable,
like,
but it's you got to be committed. Between Voodoo Circle and Pink Cream 69, are they sort of the two projects that you're just working and want to have success, or you know, if there's a conflict of interest, you go, oh, I'm the pink cream guy. I'm not the Voodoo. Like, are you able to split both? Are you happy to split your time between both? Or is one more important to you
yeah,
than the
I
other?
think so. I think so. I mean, I was gone from Voodoo Circle for 4 or 5 years. They made a
Right.
record in between. I had a new singer, and I
Well, they
decided
made
to
a bad
move
record in
on.
between. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Moving on.
No,
But
but
no,
your
I mean,
voice is great.
thank you. Thanks very much. I mean, they did what they do
Of
best.
course,
Obviously,
of
I'm good
course,
with Alex now.
of course.
We continued, and we made a new record, and but I've always done a lot of stuff.
Right.
Back in the day, real quick, I remember Adrian Smith. I went to an audition for his solo record actually at the time. Back in the day, it's a long time ago, and I ended up joining Pink Cream 69 in between and coming to Germany, and it was an exclusive deal. It was very good money-wise, financial. It was really, for me at the time, I was like 24. And he actually called me up, actually in Germany. He got a number from somewhere and said, look, I can't find anybody else. Do you want the job? And I said, well, I'm exclusive with Sony Music. And that was that, really. It was such a shame. Now it would have been great to have done that. It would have been, for my CV, it would have been just incredible, to been a part of the whole thing. But then you didn't really do it. You were really exclusive. You did a band, and you might have hung out with some other guys on some kind of charity thing, but you didn't necessarily do lots of different things. Whereas these days, it's just normal. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. And I love making records still. I still love being out there. Some nights, of course, I've had situations where I'm out with Friday night with Pink Cream 69. Hello, good evening, we're Pink Cream 69. Saturday, I'm out with Voodoo Circle. Good evening, we're Voodoo Circle, yeah. I've had
We're
these
Voodoo
situations.
Cream 69. What was that?
Oh, where are we tonight? And which band is it? And who's playing guitar? You know what I mean?
Where I'm
And
from
then,
Pink Voodoo. What was that?
yeah, it's possible, but you don't do that. You've got to make sure where are we tonight? Which band is it? Yeah. But I've done a lot of different stuff, and it's for a lot of reasons. I'm not saying it's boring, but I just love to do many different things, and I also do cover stuff, I mean, it's, that's how it is, man. I do, tribute stuff. I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, for me personally, to be able to get up on stage, to sing, enjoy myself, stay in a top hotel, to get great food, to hang, to maybe even go to Spain with other projects, and get money in my pocket. I've got the best job in the world. What can I tell you, man?
You do. And on that, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. But I love the bands, love your voice, and hopefully we can get more people in North America interested, because if you look at, again, Gothard, Thunder, FM, Pink Cream, there's such great music that just needs to get out to a world audience. Just fantastic bands.
Absolutely. I mean, what about Gothard? They've obviously played in the States or in Canada, I guess.
Gothard hasn't played here. Well, Thunder hasn't played here since like 91, and Gothard hasn't played here since 92, 93.
Wow. I thought they were doing more. I mean, obviously Thunder played on the cruise as well.
Yeah.
Which was just fantastic, Gothard, I guess before the shit went down, I guess they were concentrating more on Europe and probably Japan and stuff like that. Luckily, I actually also sing with I have to mention this. I also sing with a band called Tank.
Yeah.
And the Tank have got a big history. And before it all went down, we were in Australia and Japan, actually, just before, like the year before, which was really incredible. Luckily, thank God, we'd done the cruise, we'd done these two situations with Tank, and I had the chance to do this massive travel. Obviously now it's not possible to go to Australia, but Yeah, let's hope. It would be
You
fantastic.
can't even come to Canada at this point. It's ridiculous. But
Yeah, I
let's
don't
hope.
know.
And 2022 new album. And by the way, great
Yeah.
title. Just call it Mitch. It's a great title. It's a great title. Thank you, David.
I'll ask the man.
Yeah, ask the manager.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Have a good day.
And yeah, thanks for talking, and speak to you soon. Take care, man. Bye bye.
Bye bye now. Cheers.